Anyway, it's time to talk about meditation. And after I introduce meditation a little bit, you will be welcome to ask again of any sorts, meditation or the previous chapter, your choice. So in Korea, we do something really, really simple. We only use 3 kinds of techniques. The 3 kinds of techniques have a foundation of similar body postures, similar attention to the breath, only the mental part is different, okay? So you're welcome to take a firm and erect sitting position, whether it's a lotus, half lotus, quarter lotus, Burmese position, samurai position. Samurai is when you sit, you know, on your 2 heels, maybe with some cushion as you know, padding. And then we use the Mahamudra, which is this mudra. Middle joints of the middle fingers and the thumbs meet horizontally, and you put the blade of your hands against your abdomen. You don't raise it. You lower it. You can rest it on your thighs, and you pull the blade of your hands in. It has to touch your abdomen. So why is that? Because with this gesture, we focus all the energy in the upper body to the Tantien, which is the navel chakra. Zen also uses 7 chakras, just like most yoga schools. But the solar plexus sometimes is the center. In Zen, the navel chakra is the center. Why? Because this is the point of no thinking, non-dualistic mind. That's where you connect to universal energy, or in Sanskrit, the Shiva Shakti, directly. Differentiation or dualistic process appears when you go up mentally, suppressed fear, lots of feelings, speech, dualistic thinking, sensory perceptions. It's all upwards. Downwards from the navel chakra is physical differentiation. That's how babies appear. Okay? So this point is called the cosmic mudra, the Mahamudra. And the reason why it's here, because in this chakra, nothing happens. Nothing happens. No differentiation, no dualities, no information. We call that don't know chakra. So why we stay erect? Because if you have this, then the central channel and also the side nadis, they will open. If you do nice asanas before that, even more open, okay? So yoga is a fantastic preparation for meditation itself. Long-time Zen practitioners, they all do some yoga. They realize they can't go without it. I've been to Korean and international Zen rooms many times over the past 35 years, unanimous. 70–80% of Zen monks, they do yoga. Okay, secret revealed. So why have this? At first, this seems very superfluous. Why not just have it in my lap, you know, something like in a comfortable position? Well, there's reason for everything. So if you watch the form of the tradition, you should find its function. If not, it's just museum. It's inert. It's non-productive. So this has a function. If you open this to an angle, then this gate, called the Great Gate in Qigong, opens up. If you close it, this one closes too. So if you drop your mudra flat, then this gate closes and the qi doesn't flow down to your Tantien. Tantien literally means energy garden in Chinese, okay? So when you hold it like that and your body is erect, it's okay to try to put both knees as much towards the ground as possible. It's not an obligation, it's an option, okay? Just to see some perspective. You pull the chin in a little bit. You close your lips, but you don't close your teeth. And you put your tongue to the soft palate of your mouth, okay? And the eyes are kind of tricky. Now, please watch what I'm doing. Imagine you have a huge watermelon in your arms. But you watch your hands. And then you take away your hands, but the focus is in the same space or same place where your hands were. That's how you look in front of yourself. You don't look at the floor directly because then your eyes would get tired. Don't focus on the floor surface. Keep your eyes mid-level in space. So that's 45 degrees, that's the maximum. And if you close it down to a slit so that only some light would come in, that's the minimum. We don't shut our eyes completely. Why? When you dream, then your eyeballs go up. It's the last act before falling asleep or falling dead, by the way. Your eyeballs go up, and they put all the energy of your eye gaze into your frontal cortex, and then you see your own movie. Sometimes people term it as meditation. I term it as entertainment. Your own Hollywood. You're the best director, whether it's a horror movie, fiction, documentary, or exploration. You are the director. You make your own series, and you believe it. So the point is, don't shut your eyes completely, because then outside, inside becomes separate, and then you watch your own movie in your own microcosmos, and you believe you are meditating. No, you are entertaining yourself. So basically, what we do is you breathe in and out through the nose, and you don't put any rhythm or counting over the breath. Just watch it. And as you watch it, you focus to your dantian with it. You don't watch your nostrils. You watch your belly. Okay? Let me introduce the first technique. The first technique is the lightest. It has absolutely no tool in it. So it's not like a hammer and you hit the nail with it and it goes into the 2x4. No. It's just perceiving sound and space. That's all it does. And the rule is that if your karma interferes, you lose the connection to the sound. We have a bunch of sounds to listen to. You hear this hum? Cool. That's your anchor. But don't go towards the hum. Let the hum come to you. And don't stop at your ears. Let it stop in your belly. Okay? So focus here. Not your ears, not outside. And of course, you perceive space. Visual space probably ends here for you. Okay? But you perceive space also behind you, and above and beneath. So perceive sound and space. If your karma interferes, your whole space contracts, and the sound disappears. Once you wake up from your dream, then the sensation of space and sounds resumes, and the moment becomes clear again. Let's try this for a few minutes. Okay? How many minutes did we sit? How long was it? Anybody? Any guess?
1 minute, 2.
1, 2. Okay. That's very interesting because you lost your sense of time. It was 5 full minutes. And that tells you that deep down there in your mind, it's your cognitive processes that create the sense of time, also the sense of space. Here in America, spaces are so big, especially bathrooms. I'm amazed. Wow! In Europe, half the size. In Russia, 1/4. You can't even believe, okay? Because everybody has a different notion of how to handle your body in these kind of private functions. So, very different sense of space. Your own notion of personal space is different because your notion of individuality is different. So therefore, your notion of self defines your space and also your time. You may examine that. You know, it could be part of another talk, but we don't have all day or another day during my stay here. It's another subject to dwell on if you so wish. The other method of meditation would be the great question. So if I said that the anchor is missing when you perceive sound and space, there's one anchor, the question itself, when you use it. And it comes from the 6th patriarch, Huineng, who was the 6th after Bodhidharma and the 34th after Buddha Shakyamuni himself. The story goes like this. When he faced a very serious adversary who was a monk himself, he asked him, when you don't think of good and bad, what is your original face? So what is your mind when you do not have dualistic thinking? What kind of mind is that? Later on, it became shorter. What is your original face? And later on, what is this? You know, the Chinese love to truncate things, so that's what happened. So what is this goes inside, and with every in-breath, you ask, what is this? And then with the out-breath, you let your mind cough up anything and you don't react to it. Because believe me, there will be some answers. Not just what is this, but what is this? This guy, what has he brought here? I don't understand. This is so weird, so different. So all these opinions on yourself, the others, your past, your present, your future, it's just a dream. It's just clouds over a mountain. If your mind doesn't move, you become the mountain. If your mind moves, you become the cloud. Okay? So use the question, what is this, with every in-breath, and whatever happens as a reaction, discard it. Let it go to the waste can. So some people prefer methods that have almost no tools, no objects in it, like the first one. And some people prefer a very clear-cut anchor where you can kind of hinge your mind. The second was more object-oriented or kind of more methodological with this question. But the question can also disappear. So if you practice this meditation for years, after like 2-3 years of asking what is this, the mind automatically goes there, i.e. stays here. And when that happens, the non-verbal, what is this, is in place. It's very different from not asking the question or just being haphazard around. And there's the object-oriented question, when you really have a big problem and you don't see cause and effect so clearly. And your mind mirror is strong and clear enough, you can put the problem in front of your mirror and ask, what is this? Where does this come from? Because you don't ask the why question. You don't want to reason your way out of it. You don't want to use your dualistic intellect, only your non-dualistic perception. And then the object-oriented question, the what is this with an object before it, begins to work. You perceive it as it is. It opens up all the alleyways where it gets energy and information from, and how it transmits energy and information to another entity. We call that the network of cause and effect. And with our intellect, we can only cognize or perceive parts of it. Pretty much like a fisherman's net. It can only catch the fish from the sea, and of course some bycatch, unfortunately, but it cannot catch the sea itself. So if you want to catch the sea, you have to put down the net. If you want to attain the full experience of reality, you have to put down your thinking. Because your thinking and your self-image is the biggest hindrance. That's one of the biggest contradictions in our human experience on this planet. That our self is so important, and in order to attain our true self, our own individual self-image, which is loaded with the wrong information, take that out of the way. And once your small I disappears, your true nature appears, which of course is a figure of speech because your true nature never appears or disappears. But there's no better way of saying that at the level of concepts and thoughts. In yoga, you have that too, because with jhana and samadhi, 7 and 8, your self-image is not sustained. Your own separation as an individual is gone. If you have the first 3, what is this? Subject-oriented, verbal. Second, what is this? Subject-oriented, non-verbal. The third, what is this? Object-oriented, verbal. And the fourth is, by logic, what is this? Object-oriented, non-verbal. That means your mind is so clear that immediately when the problem appears, you don't have to ask, what is this? You immediately see it, process it, and let it fall into place, before it becomes dukkha, before it falls out of context, before it becomes disharmony, before you put your dent of desire and anger onto it, whether it's good for me or bad for me. That's how you misrepresent reality, because you misrepresent yourself. Okay? So these four are the healthy maintenance functions of the mind. Okay, and we haven't even spoken about chanting, but we will, trust me, soon enough. So chanting, why is chanting so important? Westerners, that means us, sometimes we are so cleverly stupid, okay? Because when we met Oriental tradition, what did we see? We saw these sitting statues, okay, everywhere, from the Himalayas to India. We've seen them. So we copied them. That's how they sit. So I sit in the same way. What did we see as teaching? Books. Huge libraries of the 84,000 dharmas, okay? That's how the Buddha's teaching was preserved with so much redundancy that current databases and server farms, they are nothing compared to that. It would take 2.5 lifetimes to read the 84,000 sutras because there's such redundancy in it. If any one of them would be broken, you could restore it out of 3, 4, 10, 15 other more sources. It's amazing. That's why there is no textual degradation. It's the same. It was written down a couple of hundred years after the Buddha. Some of them earlier, some of them later. But it's remarkable how well they were preserved. So we got, wow, this is correct. So we read it and we mistook it for the Dharma. It wasn't 100% wrong. Like it's not 100% wrong to think that the cookbook contains the knowledge of the food, but it doesn't contain the food itself. You don't cook the cookbook. You cook the ingredients, right, ladies and some gents also? I love cooking. Actually, I'm not that bad at it. Simple food I can make real tasty. So, but we cook the real thing. We don't cook the book. So Westerners, they thought that that's the Dharma in its entirety. They didn't see bowing statues, and they didn't see chanting statues. But in any comprehensive tradition, bowing comes first because it breaks the ice of your karma. When you bow to the Buddha or you bow to Patanjali as a murti, you bow to your true nature, actually, because that statue is not some bronze or fiberglass or stone or wood. We don't bow to idols, okay? That would be totally bad. We bow to the representation of our true nature. That means that our self-image goes low, and this experience of oneness goes up. We actually condition ourselves to treat important things first, unimportant things last. You're important. Yeah, everybody's important. Yeah, everybody's important. To what extent? 1 per 8 billion. That's your importance on this planet. That's my importance on this planet. Okay? But we become so important. Why? Because we want to survive. Survival instinct. Okay? Very strong. Possessive instinct. Very strong. Creative instinct. Very strong. These instincts are so strong that in Hindu tradition, they put 3 gods to represent them. Creative instinct, Brahma. Possessive instinct, Vishnu. Survival instinct, Shiva. And that's why in the Hindustani peninsula, also in the Indian diaspora, you see most of the time Shiva temples. Survival, most important. Even if I lose everything, survive, I can recreate it. Vishnu, very popular. I love Vaishnavas. I have Vaishnava friends, Shaiva friends, Krishna believer friends. I'm totally integrated. I love it. So, Vishnu, very important, but they're more sedentary. They don't worry about survival too much. Everybody's going to pass. But let's have this, nicely established world with inputs and outputs, stable. Stability is Vishnu. And creativity, in the whole India, there are 2 major Brahma temples. Of course, some minor shrines as well. Why? Creation is not that difficult, folks. We have almost 8 billion specimens of us. It's not that difficult. Also, we have tons of artwork and ideas, etc. So we don't have to kind of praise creation so much. It's more and more and more of it. However, there's a Western book that says, create more and more and more. And we just did that in the last 150 years. Western culture is obsessed about creation. We didn't stop. We still don't stop. Then, of course, it went to Asia as well. Anyway, when the methods are recounted, then we forget the bows many times. But giving respect to our true nature is essential. So in Buddhism, we bow 3 times to Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. The teacher, the teaching, and the student's community. And that respect ensures our proper relationship to it. I'll show you how it goes. Suppose that this fan is my Buddha. Okay? I decided this is the Buddha statue. In Tibetan, they do a full-length body prostration. Some of you may have seen that. In Korea, they don't do that. There's a standing bow. Then on your knees, knees down, head down, butt down, and you raise your 2 palms upwards. You do this the 2nd time. And when you do it for the 3rd time, you do a small hop Chong in front of your forehead. Then get up and finish it with a standing bow. Now, like I said earlier, in every single form of the tradition, look for the inherent function. The ancient ones were not stupid. They were not wasting their time. We don't understand. We don't see the use, okay? So once you do, you can really bow to them, how simple, clear, and clever they were. Not complicated, but clever. There's a difference. So when we were in Korea, we practiced this bowing hundreds of times a day. In fact, the portion is 108 bows a day. That's like 13 minutes. And we noticed a couple of things. We mentioned the chakras, and there's an energy flow between them. Usually it comes up in the frontal part of the body. And when you have excess energy, because you have excess information, you get heart attack or a stroke, or eyes get blurred. This is called Sanggi in Korean, rising chi. If you have a Sangyeon car, it's the same Sang, rising flying dragon, flying energy. It's so dangerous that they want to stop it at all cost. Why? If you cannot control the information, because you heard it, you read it, you felt it, you thought it, you have to control the energy, where it flows. So when you bow, you breathe out as you go down, you breathe in as you come up. And then your chi reverses. And prana, in Sanskrit, starts to flow down in the front part, starts to come up in the back part. And that's how you ensure your mental and sometimes even your physical health over a long period of time. And that's why bowing, if you do it in the right way, is very, very good for you. But if you don't do the bows, then your body did not pay the respects. Maybe just your thinking, just your feelings, but your body didn't do it. It's this action mind, this just do it. In Korean, halpun, just do it. That mind is Zen mind. And that applies to seemingly not doing anything. That's also just do it. But this it is empty. So bowing first, it breaks the ice of the karma. Chanting next, it boils the water. This icy water gets boiled. That's why mantra is so important. There's many kinds of religions on this planet. Some of them allow you to make statues. Some of them forbid you to make statues. Some of them create icons and paintings. Some of them forbid that, and only some scriptures are possible. But every one of them recites and sings and chants. Why is that? Because if you look at light, a light beam, you can look at it as waves, and you can look at it as particles. In fact, light includes both. Just by the way we look at it separates the two views. Chanting is the same. It has melody and it has text. It has rhythm and it has a message. The job of the melody and the rhythm is to suspend your dualistic thinking so that the message would go in, the meaning of the text. That's why it's chanted, not just said. Okay? And this mantra practice, when you do it like this, with this kind of awareness, it has 3 jobs. One is convey the spiritual meaning, which I have just said, and feed your soul with it. That's why you feel refreshed. You don't even understand the words, but something goes in. Your intellect is bypassed, but the meaning of the mantra fills you up. It fills your soul with something that you desperately needed. We call that transcendental energy, the message of enlightenment, okay? Based on this experience, some spiritual hierarchy develops inside, that this becomes important. More important than wasting your time on something else. So you do it every day. Even if it's 1 minute, you do it every day. Second, you talked about the noise. It helps you distinguish between signal and noise. Because when you're very confused, even your sense of space and time is gone. Your sensory organs get blocked or they are dysfunctional. You use a mantra, then all this noise begins to be taken away, begins to clear out, and only the signal remains. What is the signal? What do you see now? What do you hear now? What are you doing right now? This moment becomes clear. That's the only signal you can actually believe. Everything else is illusion. And the third, sometimes our own reactionary mind is your greatest enemy. So you can be your own best friend, you can be your own worst enemy, depending on your relationship to your own karma. So when your mind produces totally adverse reactions, dualistic reflections that are so bad, you don't want to believe them, but it's very strong, then you use a mantra, because duality cannot be extinguished by another duality. It's a ground rule, like an axiom. Duality can only be extinguished by oneness. Thinking cannot be extinguished by thinking. Thinking can only be extinguished by no thinking. Okay? So that's why the third property of the mantra is the protection of your mind against its own harmful influence. All right? So we try one. Gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhisvaha means gate, gate, the Buddha's gate, become Buddha. So go through the gate of no thinking and get enlightenment. That's the meaning of the mantra. I'll recite it first and you're welcome to join. Gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhisvaha. Together. Gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhisvaha. 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 If you ask me, many people in the West and now increasingly in the East have mental problems. Confusion, depression, any kind of overload. And behind that, there's something missing. We are not really connected to the universe. We become very individualistic, we become detached, we become isolated, and in our isolation, many bad things happen. Because energy goes low and information goes too high up. So, as I've said, the mantra has these 3 inherent qualities. If you practice spiritual hierarchy, signal and noise distinction, and the protection of your own mind against its own harmful dualistic reactions / influence. Remember that. Doing mantra is not something holy moly. Okay? It has these 3 functions literally everywhere. But very few people know why they do that. And it's important for you to know, don't just become a follower, become a practitioner. Okay? okay? Very different. So basically, we've covered it all. Kongan practice is another matter. It's when you deal with paradoxes, but it would be unkind and almost intolerable if I continued with that now. After 1 hour and 40 minutes of intense attention, but I can't stop myself. So I will give you just one Kongan. Okay, bear with me, just one. Kongan is a paradox, not something orthodox. It relies on your intuition, not on your knowledge. So here it goes. One day, a monk decided to go into a hot bath. And in China, and Korea, and Japan, there are many hot baths. This happened in China. This was a sutra monk, in fact, a famous sutra monk. And when he finished bathing, the old woman, who was a Buddhist, asked him, "Oh, Venerable, you have washed your body clean in my humble bath. Thank you very much. How do you clean your mind?" The monk was confounded and he couldn't answer. So, if you were the monk, how would you answer? How do you clean your mind? If you just think, you can give only a partial answer. If your mind is intuitive and uses this clear mirror quality, you give a complete answer. Oh, I can see it's not enough. I give you another one, okay? So, Zen Master Joju, when he was asked, what is Joju? What is the master? He said, East Gate, North Gate, West Gate, South Gate. Question, how do you go through these gates? Yeah, I like that mind. Completely, I don't know. This don't know is the source of the Kongans and also the key to solve the Kongans. So when your mind goes back completely before thinking, it connects with the source of the Kongan itself. So, ladies and gentlemen, hence my humble introduction of Korean Buddhism / the larger tradition and the relationship between yoga and Zen is finished. Now, I will welcome a couple of last questions and we'll all go home. Who has any questions about the second part or even the first?
My question is, there are a lot of different, from what I understand, Buddhist traditions, practices, and what you're talking about, correct?
Yeah, I made that mistake to talk about many kinds of practices.
I know. So.
Inevitable.
So, but you were talking about the samurai.
Yes.
Overlay, shall
like
we say,
that. Yes.
of the
Of
Buddhism there, the Zen.
Yeah.
Okay. So if there are all these variations of Zen, cannot you make the parallel of all the different other religions in the world? That they all were, they had a basic premise, but they overlaid their own perceptions, their own practices, their own directives. So it's not that I'm saying that Zen is a religion, but it's a practice, it's a spiritual belief, it's one as a human. But people might say, well, that's like a religion.
Well, that's not a problem. In the West, it's not so fashionable to follow religion, but a spiritual path. But Buddhism is a religion in the Orient. So calling it a religion is not sacrilege. It's fine. No biggie. Whatever you call it, the animal does the job, okay? It carries you from one shore to the other.
So, and I was raised in a Catholic family, and that's a big deal, the whole Catholicism. You know, we have a new Pope and all that stuff. I'm not a practicing Catholic anymore. I'm a practicing spiritual being,
You're
shall
a heretic.
we say. I'm what?
A heretic.
Absolutely. But where was I going with that question?
To hell. I'm sorry.
I know. Already been there and back.
You will find me there.
All right, let's go.
Of course, because I took up residence. That's called Zen teacher, so I'm there.
Perfect. But then going back to this Zen, and it goes back many thousands of thousands of eons before.
You're very generous. So?
I know. So I love the fact that I want to say it's the original.
What is the original
Meaning,
after
the
thousands
original.
of
What
eons?
is the original? I don't know. The higher power, the spiritual being. I don't know. And then Jesus Christ comes along and changes the whole trajectory of.
He reinforces the trajectory.
There you go.
He said, I didn't come to abolish the law. I came here to fulfill it. He did that. If we only understood what he truly did, if only we just did, we would stop being Catholics, Protestants, Episcopals, Baptists, whatever. Okay? Any other questions? Yeah, back there.
I was just wondering, when you leave the yoga practice here, you feel so at peace, and it's not just me. You can see it in everybody. I mean, once I saw Timi sitting outside, she had done, and she was glowing.
Who?
And I'm like, and I thought, I want to get to that place. It's like, how do you, like, when I leave here, I feel very good and very peaceful. But the minute I walk in the door at home, or something happens, that Zen, quiet, at peace with myself, leaves, and then
How does that
I
happen?
react.
You know,
How
it
do you
happens.
sustain the peace?
You know, I'm interested
Surrender.
too, because it happens to me the same way. I'm in the Sangha, I'm in the world, I'm meditating. The moment I cross the threshold of my home, total disaster. How does that happen? I ask you. You said what?
I react. I don't. I
You
allow
don't know.
myself to react
Ah,
instead of
that's
pause.
it. That's it. So don't know, already reflected reaction. That's good. How does this reaction happen?
It triggers something that probably I'm storing in my body.
What
It's a gut reaction.
in your body? Come on.
Well, the body keeps a score.
Where does the reaction come from?
My
Your
mind.
mind. Okay. So why did your mind change? Outside home? Space. Happiness. Freedom. You go through your own very comfort zone threshold. You meet your intimate family relationships. And we become this, what? How could I say that? How could I do that? Why did she say that to me? How could she do that to me? Etc. How does that happen? She's the brave one. Watch her, okay? How does it happen?
Because they're closest to us,
Yeah.
and we're most affected by them.
Yes. And this closeness brings up our karma this large. You get into an intimate relationship, first very beautiful or smart or attractive. You get close. Wow. Why? Nobody knows what's in the depth of the heart of another person until we get close enough. And we are committed, and we have a marital relationship or kids or some kind of real bondage. And then the fit begins to hit the shan. That's when things begin to come out, and we are so close, you can't escape. I mean, if you're man enough or woman enough, you don't escape. You face it. You see it. You absorb it. And that teaches you how not to generate it. Why? The surface for loving and causing pain is the same surface. It's called our human soul. What do we do with each other when we touch each other's soul? Yeah, because intimacy is the biggest potential and the biggest danger at the same time. To do the best and to do the worst to each other. And sometimes we can't resist the temptation. So I'm stronger. I'm faster. I'm more clever. I'll subdue you. I'll make you suffer. And I pretend I love you. That's why. Because when you go close, yourself feels the whole image. Her or his self feels the whole space, the whole image. And you don't escape. So what do we do with each other when we are this close? Either we perceive and we become selfless, or we begin to cause a lot of pain and a lot of suffering because we cannot do otherwise. And unless we meditate and get out of home sometime, and we discard for a time the sensory dependence, the intimacy, and all those things that we supposedly cherish and love, we can do irreparable damage. And worse, we repeat it. Even worse, we transmit it to our children. Even worse, we expect our children to behave in the same way, because that's us, the parents. This Dharma that came from India here and from Korea was practiced in ashrams and monasteries. It was group karma only. No intimate relationships in the group. Couples and families were left in the valley, and individuals were kind of integrated into the Sangha on the mountain. And that's where this practice of enlightenment was cultivated in detachment. It was necessary. Otherwise, your sensory or sensual relationships, the intimacy itself would have blocked the whole path. Now, this thing gets out of the monasteries and the ashrams, and it comes to the West. Some people believe it's a great thing, but some people also see it as the biggest disaster that had ever happened. Why? Because we have to see our intimate relationships from a different angle. We cannot pretend we don't see it anymore. Because there is this clear mirror of non-dualistic mind, and you cannot pretend you don't see what you're doing to your intimate relationships and what they're doing to you. So lay practice of non-dualistic, path towards liberation is the biggest shift in historical paradigms. It's not me saying that. Much, much higher, elevated, educated, accomplished people say that. The biggest paradigm shift is not the nuclear bomb or other technical things or AI. It's the advent of Oriental traditions to the West and taking root here. Inescapable, because we were so thirsty. We still are. So the group karma of monastic practice and clarity and liberation-oriented mind coalesced with intimate relationships of couple and family karma, and we took it into our house. We have our yoga rooms next to the bedroom, and that's a huge paradigm shift. And we cannot escape because we began to see cause and effect differently. So thank you for your question.
Yeah, my
Closer.
spiritual journey started long time ago. First of all, I started going the Buddha temple, learning about Buddhism and learning meditating. It was a nice experience. I started doing yoga, but Bikram, Vinyasa, whatever we can call that. But I just found a year ago a Kundalini, and that's totally messed up my mind. Because we're learning similar thing and about chanting and doing mantra, and I'm just sitting here and so many chaos and noise in my head right now. So what now? What do you think about Kundalini?
First, it's not important what I think about it. Okay. What's important is how I can help you. Okay. First, you spoiled your stomach. You ate too much good food. So, Vinyasa, Bikram, all fine. Kundalini, all fine. Mahayana and Zen, all fine. But you eat them at the same time, you spoil your stomach.
Actually, I went to the dark night. I went to the dark night of the soul. So yeah, I think I get high from the spirituality for a long time. So I just came out.
Did you?
I am.
Are you fine?
I am.
So then, why would I talk?
I don't know, just I have...
You're curious?
Yes.
I don't satisfy curiosity.
Okay.
I try to help people if they really need it. Do you need it?
I need to.
Okay, so you had a Dharma accident.
Okay.
A misunderstanding. Usually we put our thoughts into the place of reality, and that's when we go bonkers. That's when we eat the cookbook instead of the food. So Kundalini is a super dependent path on the guru. Did you have a guru?
I have teacher, but I don't know. I don't think they are guru. There was a guru, but
Were you connected to the teacher almost on a daily basis doing Kundalini?
almost.
Almost.
But
Okay.
I have to work and live my life, of course. But I have a free time. I'm not doing Bikram. I'm going Kundalini.
Don't mix. Choose between one or another.
But it's hard. My heart can choose.
Then you get a spoiled stomach and you'll get confused.
I am.
So if you do not pare down your heart's desire, your heart gets corrupted. That's the rule. And if you do not have an alpha tradition and an alpha guru, then this multiplicity will tear you apart. I'm not being dramatic, I'm being realistic. You know how many Dharma accidents I have seen in the last 35 years? Many. And it all began with kind-hearted people wanting to do the right thing, building on many kinds of sources, etc., and they chopped themselves into pieces because they had no hierarchy within their own hearts. So the hierarchy is choose your alpha tradition, alpha teacher, and alpha community. And you can venture out, you can visit, but your roots have to be in one place. Otherwise, you stand no chance. When trouble comes, you don't know what method, what tradition, what teacher to call, to use, etc., and then you are in trouble. So Kundalini, as far as I know, is, in traditional India, you moved into the guru's house and you served, you lived with them, ate with them, slept in the same establishment, 0-24, especially with Kundalini, because when you rise the chi over the spine, you can go really nuts, okay? So what I said earlier, that either is the biggest blessing, that it came from the mountains and the Orient to the West, or the biggest curse, this is not an exaggeration. If it goes to the wrong hands, or if you misuse it, it creates more harm than good. So make your choice. Be rooted in a tradition, don't mix, and keep it simple, clear, even more simple, even more clear, pare it down to a minimum. And if you do that, you save your own health.
Thank you again. Just a little
You're welcome.
controversial. I just don't really understand.
Face the mic, please.
Yes.
Thank you.
Is that not idolization if you stick with one tradition and don't seek others?
Nope. It's not idolization, it's hierarchy. You have only one head, right?
Yes. Yes.
Is it a dictatorship of your head that there's only one of it? If you want another head, be my guest, but could you get one?
No.
Great. So your choice is important for yourself. The alpha tradition doesn't mean that you don't venture out, like I said earlier, that you don't visit. Hey, I'm here. I'm a Zen guy, and I go everywhere where I get invited. So over the last 25 years of my teaching career, you cannot imagine in how many environments I said the same thing and related to people harmoniously. So this multiplicity, if it's horizontal, it chops you up. If it's vertical and hierarchical, it gives you insight, variety, lots of experience, which you can integrate. But if you don't have your alpha tradition, you're cooked, because you don't have this order within yourself. And you have disorder, your life falls apart in the critical moment. Consequently, if your life fell apart in one moment, you didn't have that order within yourself. And that's okay. We can get up. We can pull it together. We can pick up the pieces. But the fewer you have to do that, the less traumatic your experience is, and the less trauma you have to transmit to others and deal with. Go on.
Thank you. So my question, I'm still trying to formulate it in my head, but it has to do with the subject of happiness, the definition of happiness.
My favorite subject.
And good, because I think our pursuit as humans of happiness is something that can be destructive. And I was curious about the definition of happiness. Sometimes in philosophy, Schopenhauer has said
You
happiness.
want me to be destructive? If I told you, it would be total destruction.
I am seeking that definition of happiness.
I'm not giving it to you. Why? Because I love you. I love all beings. I feel compassion to all beings. Therefore, I don't give you happiness. I can help you take away the hindrance before happiness. So when we teach the most important teaching, the Heart Sutra, we don't tell you what enlightenment is, but we tell you what it is not. So when you confuse yourself with your sensory organs, with your thought processes, with your body processes, that confusion is ignorance. But when you take away all ignorant ideas, we dwell in nirvana. That means the state of happiness and oneness and everything you desire. If I tell you happiness, I take away your own pursuit and I do not respect your own autonomy. If I told you your future, I would steal your future. If I told you how to see, I would steal your eyes. If I told you how to hear, I would steal your ears. The only thing I teach is how to take away hindrances, how to resolve the unclarity of the mind. I cannot tell you what clarity is. You have it already within yourself. But I can tell you what it is not. And I can help you take that away. But we humans, as much as we pursue happiness and love and compassion and wisdom and all these great ideas, before we perceive who we truly are, it's impossible to get all these qualities. So that's why I don't tell you, because I respect you. Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, thank you, Timi, for the honor of being here and your invitation. Thank you, everybody, for sitting this whole session through, the 2-hour session. And I appreciate your acute mind and clear presence and your questions and your help. Thank you so much.